Hey everybody, welcome back. This week we will cover another tutorial that I've done in the past. I had a couple of emails about the rotoscoping project, and in there I mentioned some stuff with the motion project, your final project for the class. But at that point, the motion project discussion and pitches discussion page, the discussion thread for that, was not yet open. Now it is. We want you to do this week along with the tutorial that I'll be posting. And if I mention anything in the tutorial about the motion project, just disregard it. This is a tutorial from last semester. It's just a little bit easier for me not to re-edit all of that stuff and to kind of exploit the fact that I recorded all this in advance. So we'll cover parallax this week, which I think is really interesting, and it's kind of an option for you if you are looking for something to do for your motion project. So parallax is basically taking a two-dimensional image and cutting it out, masking it, and then using three-dimensional tools to move through it to make it a little bit more interesting and stuff. So if you want to do something like a parallax for your final project, you'll probably have to do a series of parallaxes to really reach that threshold of, right here it says appropriate level of difficulty. So that's a little bit vague. We can't really say, hey, it needs to be X amount of length. It needs to be 10 seconds or 2 minutes, right? Because you can do an animation that's 2 minutes long that is very simple and not very difficult. And you can do something else that's 5 seconds long and incredibly complex and complicated with several layers and several elements that are kind of unifying the whole thing. So you just have to pitch it. You have to tell us what your idea is, and it needs to be more difficult than any of the projects that we've done as tutorial projects. All of these projects that we've done are kind of standard basic things. It's up to you to kind of put them together to do something interesting. If that's animating a logo in a really interesting way, that's fine. If that's doing an opening credits sequence, that's fine as well. I've seen people do things that are really interesting with motion tracking, which we haven't done yet, but we're a couple of weeks away from that. If you're still trying to find like some inspiration for things, I can't recommend enough videocopilot.net. If you go to videocopilot.net, you'll find a bunch of tutorials from Andrew Kramer. How many tutorials does he have now? 169. So this is basically how I learned how to use After Effects. So there are very basic tutorials here, and then there are very complicated ones. It is important that you actually like listen to him for a second. In his introduction, he should introduce anything in here that's required that's not just like part of After Effects already. So if he says we're using this plug-in for After Effects, so something that's been downloaded and probably costs money, so it'll usually be like a Red Giant plugin. I think he uses Red Giant Particular rather than the particle effects inside After Effects because it's a whole lot easier and a little bit nicer. Also, they have a plugin, Video Copilot does, for 3D elements, putting that into After Effects easily. So if he's using any of those things, you won't be able to do that without paying for those plugins. But there's plenty of tutorials on here that don't require any kinds of paid plugins to pull off. If you see things that say like Element 3D, that is their plugin. Look out for that. If it looks like CGI, like computer generated imagery, that's not just like smoke or light rays or muzzle flash or something like that, chances are that requires an extra plugin. But just watch the intro and he'll probably break down what you actually need. Sometimes he has some files that you can download and then use within your projects. Feel free to use those things. They're free to use. even if your project is much different than his. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some kind of inspiration, and hopefully you'll pick something that you can actually use in the future. So animated logo, if you're going to create videos on YouTube and you want an animated logo for the beginning of your videos every single time, this is a great opportunity to pull something like that off. If you have a film project that you're working on and you need titles, absolutely do that. If you're working on a film project and you need some kind of VFX, absolutely do that. So I am more than happy to accept several simple projects rather than one complicated project. So if it happens to be a film that you're working on and you want to do VFX for it, and there's 10 shots and they're all fairly simple, but it's 10 different VFX things, I'm probably okay with that. But you're going to have to break that down for us. How long the shots are, what kind of shots they are, and what kind of VFX is necessary, or whatever your project is, you'll need to break down in as much detail as you can on the discussions page with any kind of applicable video. So if there's a video that's similar to what you want to pull off, show us that video, and maybe I can give you some helpful analysis, and I can certainly better understand what you're actually trying to go for. So there's plenty of stuff out there that you can check out. There's plenty of YouTube videos as well, YouTube tutorials, just kind of breaking down what is possible in After Effects. You know the basics at this point. There's still a little bit of basic stuff to pick up. We'll do that over the next few weeks. But you should have a starting point for this final project, especially after you do the Parallax project. After that, things sort of click for a lot of people. So do that project first, see what you can possibly do in After Effects, and then go to the pitch page and pitch there. Make sure that you do this by next week. So tomorrow's the 24th. So that would be December 1st. December 1st is when you want to have your stuff in. If you can do it earlier, though, we're happier with earlier, right? I'll check in pretty regularly. So I get email updates and stuff for Canvas. So if I get a Canvas update that says someone's posted here, I'll come and give you feedback as quickly as possible. I'll probably ask you more questions, honestly, but if you break things down very thoroughly, then we're really happy. You can also talk to me on Zoom, as always, every Tuesday, so that's tomorrow for me, but it might be today for you. So reach out to me if you have questions about this stuff. It is a little bit vague, but intentionally so. If we put kind of strict guidelines on you, all of a sudden people can jump through loopholes very, very easily. So we want you to pitch the project, and I will give you feedback as quickly as possible. Again, the tutorial that you'll be looking at this week was recorded last semester. So if I mention anything about the motion project or prior projects or anything like that, just disregard that. Look specifically at the tutorial itself and ignore me otherwise. All right, I will talk to you guys potentially tomorrow during the Zoom session. If you have questions about anything, you can always email me too. Email is the best way to reach me as quickly as possible. All right, good luck with the tutorial, guys.